You just dropped $50,000 to $80,000 on a beautiful custom pool, but leaving it fully exposed turns that massive investment into a murky, leaf-filled liability within a matter of days. If you live anywhere in the unique subtropical climate zone between Naples and Orlando, this environmental onslaught is relentless. In Florida, an open custom pool functions like a concrete pond. As this graphic illustrates, it faces three constant threat vectors: chemical breakdown from UV radiation, an influx of biological matter, and physical damage from structural wind loads. Look at this side-by-side comparison. On the left, the idealized luxury pool. On the right, the actual daily reality. An open pool instantly turns a relaxing asset into a daily, mandatory maintenance chore, triggering constant contamination alerts. The biological invaders attacking the water are specific to our region. You constantly battle heavy oak pollen, acidic pine needles, mosquitoes, and local wildlife. Every leaf and insect is an active contaminant. They physically degrade the water's chemical balance the moment they break the surface. Protecting a high-end pool requires viewing it as a vulnerable aquatic system that requires a dedicated, integrated environmental control system. The leaves and insects are just the visible problems. The most aggressive thief draining your pool's operational budget is entirely invisible: Florida's intense UV radiation. This graphic shows the chemical degradation. UV rays hit the surface, physically breaking apart the hypochlorite ions of your active chlorine. Consequently, an open pool loses up to 50% of its active chlorine during peak summer hours due to this solar radiation. When you combine that rapidly disappearing chlorine with the constant influx of leaves and bugs, you trigger a devastating biological chain reaction. This flowchart maps the phosphate reaction. Organic debris introduces phosphates into the water, acting as fertilizer for rapid algae blooms. To combat the algae, your filtration system is forced into overdrive. Ultimately, the overworked hardware fails, resulting in a $1,200 variable speed pump burnout. Leaving your pool exposed to the Florida sun and local wildlife guarantees this perpetual cycle. You will continuously dump high-priced chemicals into the water, right up until your overworked hardware fails. Breaking this cycle requires a structural intervention, starting with the first physical layer of defense, an engineered mesh barrier. Modern enclosures rely on specific material grades, like standard 1814 fiberglass or the tighter 2020 no-see-um mesh. This material acts as a thermal shield, actively stabilizing water temperature. It also filters 30 to 80% of ambient UV rays, directly protecting your active chlorine. Simultaneously, this physical barrier entirely interrupts the biological invasion cycle. By keeping oak pollen, leaves, and animal droppings out of the water, you starve algae of the phosphates it needs to grow. Upgrading to modern mesh alters the entire microclimate over your pool. You move away from reactively dumping chemicals into the water and start proactively controlling the environment itself. Of course, a high-tech mesh shield is completely useless if the frame holding it up collapses during a storm. In Central and Southwest Florida, the physical threshold for survival is absolute. As this 3D wireframe diagram illustrates, any structure built here must be engineered to withstand realities of 150+ mile-per-hour wind loads. Look at the difference in structural integrity. On the left, you see the buckled, twisted failure of cheap materials built to outdated early 2000s building codes. On the right is the secure, heavy-duty Screen Factory Florida standard joint. This annotated view details the anatomy of a modern SFF frame. It relies on heavy-gauge extruded aluminum to prevent bowing under extreme pressure. Precision structural joints are reinforced using specialized gusset plates, locking high-stress corners directly to the concrete. This level of heavy-duty engineering serves as a strict, non-negotiable prerequisite for defending your property in modern coastal wind zones. Without uncompromising structural armor, an enclosure exists as a temporary structure, waiting for the right storm to turn it into flying debris. Even with massive aluminum beams, there is a distinct point of failure that brings down legacy pool enclosures: the anchors connecting the frame to the concrete foundation. Florida's atmosphere is incredibly humid, salt-heavy, and highly corrosive. It attacks base metals relentlessly. This graphic shows exactly what happens to base metals. On the left, cheap, galvanized screws that rust and snap under vertical wind pressure. Securing the footprint requires an upgrade. The SFF standard utilizes ceramic-coated or stainless steel tapcons to lock the track to the foundation. During a severe weather event, massive aerodynamic uplift tries to rip the cage off the deck. These specific corrosion-resistant fasteners are entirely responsible for holding it to the earth. You can have the highest wind speed rating in the state, but it is mathematically meaningless if the fasteners impering your cage to the concrete have rusted straight through. Let's run a final operational audit to see exactly what this level of engineering actually delivers to the homeowner. As this Venn diagram illustrates, the true value emerges when all three systems converge. The UV defense, the biological shield, and the structural armor combine to guarantee the $80,000 oasis you paid for. This table maps out the Florida pool reality matrix. It clearly contrasts the daily chemical losses and hardware burnout of an exposed concrete pond against the UV-stabilized retention and protected lifespan of an SFF-engineered oasis. The most tangible lifestyle metric is the labor. Look at these numbers. You are trading 2 to 3 hours of grueling skimming and weekly maintenance for less than 20 minutes of basic upkeep. By physically eliminating the subtropical biological load, you eliminate the constant skimming, the emergency shocking, and the weekend draining cleanups. True luxury means spending your time swimming in the water instead of working a part-time job cleaning it. Beyond the time saved, there is a direct financial return on this infrastructure over a standard 3-year ownership period. This chart breaks down savings from the UV barrier. Stopping the sun from destroying your chlorine retains massive capital otherwise spent on chemicals. Adding the preservation from shielding your variable speed pump scales the numbers up quickly. The data is clear. In just 36 months, the UV barrier alone drives over $1,500 in direct, measurable savings. Upgrading your home with this required infrastructure is highly accessible. This list outlines the modern approach from Screen Factory Florida: cutting-edge materials, 0% financing for qualified customers, and absolutely no hidden fees. An open pool in Florida remains a vulnerable, unfinished project that requires active structural defense against a relentless ecosystem. Stop paying to replace evaporated chlorine and burned-out pumps. Protect your 6-figure investment and reclaim your time. Schedule your site-specific structural assessment and wind load consultation with Screen Factory Florida today.